All right, welcome back to the Balance Patch Challenge here in Alston, Massachusetts. We are in round 5, bringing you another win and in like we did last round, where these two players are 3-1. Anthony Londergan versus Matthew G. And we have some strong teams here.
Very good looking teams indeed. In fact, a little bit of a mirror match, but not the way you expect, too.
Oh, I see.
You'll see the second.
So both of these players are 3-1, which means only the winner of this is guaranteed to go to our top 8. The other one still could, but there's absolutely no guarantee on that.
Right. It's going to be all about tiebreakers at that point, but the winning in is real for this one, so this is tournament lifeline at stake right now.
Absolutely. So we can get right into the teams if we're okay with that.
I think
we
Jared
are going
stepped
to
away.
see the first team, Anthony Londergan, running the team that Taro Okada Nagisa just won the Victory Road Challenge with that Amoonguss, Archaladon, Bastion Legion, Pelipper, Salamence, and King Gambit. So pretty heavily focused on Rain. Double Steel type with the King Gambit and Archaladon, double Dragon type with the Salamence and again Archaladon, double Water types in Bastion Legion, Pelipper, and an Amoonguss to support the rest of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely want to point out that Solomon's here, it's definitely going to have that special attacking set with the Hurricane to go alongside that Pelipper and that Life Orb to do that extra damage, that speed on it's quite nice as well. It's going to be a solid pick here for sure, but a lot of threats on this team.
Yeah, a lot of damage output and a lot of interesting techs. So Pelipper here running a double guard with Protect and Wide Guard. Salamence actually being the one to hold that tailwind. Bastion Legion with the Choice Band. I know earlier on stream today, I believe it was a cast that we were casting, where Bastion Legion had the Mystic Water as its item and was able to switch. But Bastion Legion here, it can switch in a different way, not its moves, but with Flip Turn.
With Flip Turn.
So just overall a very, very strong team with a lot of offense and, a good combination of defense in Salamence Intimidate. Pelipper being able to set up Rain so King Gambit's not affected by Fire or Amoonguss or Archaladon. It's not weak to it, but doesn't appreciate damage generally. So just overall a very, very strong team.
Looking over at Matthew J's team here, we have a nice selection with Tyranitar, Excadrill, Primarina, Volcarona, Rillaboom, and of course another Salamence. But this one's going to be working a bit differently. This Salamence over here is running that Covert Cloak with obviously a special attacking base, but also having the Tailwind support here as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so looking like a Balancy Sand style team, where you have that Tyranitar and Excadrill, of course, the partners in crime to do that fast, heavy damage. With Excadrill, of course, Tyranitar is going to be moving a lot slower. But you also have that Salamence to pair really well, get that Intimidate off, get Tailwind up for the rest of the team. Primarina here is going to be able to do a ton of damage. And Volcarona being that classic setup mon that can cover Tyranitar's weaknesses really, really well, if I recall.
It's going to be very interesting to see these colossal battlers battle it out, and I believe we are ready to get into the match now.
Yeah, so they're going to hit team preview, and we can keep talking about these teams in the matchup as well. So we actually do have a bit of a weather war here. The first one we've seen today, and the first one, I've seen in quite some time in modern-day VGC, where we have Tyranitar versus Pelipper. We have, these players are going to be pushing and pulling against each other to make sure that they can get their weather up and ensure that they are the ones benefiting at the end of the day. So there's going to have to be a lot of careful switches, a lot of careful leads. Do you lead Pelipper? Do you leave it in back? Do you lead Tyranitar? Do you bring it in back? Do you even bring Tyranitar and Excadrill at all? I say so because there's 2 steel types. But what do I know?
Honestly, I'm expecting the Pelipper to come out in the back just because it's a little faster than Tyranitar.
Yep.
And you kind of have to plan around Tyranitar coming into play immediately, especially since Sand is kind of a huge point of that build, right? So I could see that happening here, but I guess we're about to find out shortly.
Yeah, I do want to shout out that Primarina on Matthew's team is also going to be a very, very big asset to him, being able to resist those water-type moves from the Bastion Legion and the Pelipper, as well as do big damage onto Archaladon and Salamence. Yes, they're dragons. Archaladon is neutral to it, but not having the highest special defense is not going to benefit. As we do see, as you said, a double Salamence mirror match.
The mirror match is real, just like the One Piece. But we're here watching this now. Honestly, I'm a big fan of Salamence. I think it just provides so much for a team, and Tailwind, of course, is always going to be something you want up in order to get that speed control. But I'm actually interested if we're going to see the trade-off of Tailwind in the first turn, as both Intimidates will now be going into effect. To no avail, I think all of these
Absolutely
Pokemon
not.
are special attackers at this point, so it's really not here for that role of an Intimidator, just to provide that support.
Yeah, so Anthony's Salamence carrying that Life Orb is obviously going to be able to dish out a lot more damage than Matthew's. We did see Anthony's Intimidate go off first, I believe, so could be a speed tie.
Yeah, could be.
It could be... Oh, Matthews went first. Thank you, production. Matthews went first. Anthony's went second. So could be a speed tie, could be just based on how these Pokemon are built. Only one of these players probably knows the answer. As we see Anthony get up the Tailwind and a Draco Meteor.
No Tailwind going up today on your side. You're going to have to take this Draco Meteor, and now all the momentum is riding on us. The Tailwind is in effect, and it does feel like the gale is on our side. The North Wind, indeed.
A lot just happened. I'm looking at a position where Matthew's already on the back foot. No Tailwind, no more Intimidate, not that it was super impactful. But not letting that Tailwind go up allows Anthony to have speed control for the rest of the game unopposed to Matthews. Although I should make mention that there is still sand in the back that can speed up this Excadrill. It likely won't outspeed this Salamence, but that doesn't matter, as we do see a switch into Volcarona, expecting our Chaladon likely to switch out for Pelipper, and Tyranitar would have come in second there just based on how switch speeds work.
This is going to be huge
the
because
sand going up here.
Yes, the sand going up means we do have Sand Rush in play for this Excadrill, and we also know that Anthony locked in a body press into that slot, which is going to actually be a stellar evolution here. That's really cool. But, okay, protecting Salamence, this body press, how much damage is going to do to this Excadrill that's now terrorized?
Ooh. Okay, so the Stellar Ironhead going to that Salamence slot, not going to do anything because of the protect. Body press coming out, almost gets the one-hit KO on this Excadrill with a critical.
That was a crit!
Even without the critical hit, though, would have brought it down to the. Would have brought it down to the Focus Sash, whether it was enough to KO or not. And Pelipper can just come in now that Tyranitar is not in the back. And again, Anthony has this speed advantage. He's poised to just take another knockout.
Yeah, this is looking really, really good. A switch out real quick here for Anthony. Gonna be bringing in this Pelipper to get rid of that Sand Rush ability and, of course, the Sandstorm itself. Gonna go ahead and put on this rain and another body press coming into play here. Nice comeback. I like that. That's a really good adjustment to that Terror Sterile from Matthew's side.
Yeah, so Anthony just keeping on the offensive. I think if Matthew really wanted to go for a pretty aggressive read, he could have switched that Tyranitar back out, gone for a Protect on that Excadrill, and brought the Tyranitar back in. It would have brought him back into this game, but because Anthony is so much in the driver's seat and so far ahead, I don't see how that would have impacted things in the long run. I think Anthony would have been able to play around it.
Yeah, for sure.
But if Matthew wanted to play things differently, I think that's how he could have got into this game, making some predictions. So I think Matthew just kind of calling this one and saying, all right, I'll just take it. Let me think about what I want to do in this next game.
And now Weatherball gonna go ahead and get the one-hit knockout on that Volcarona, put it down very fast thanks to that rain, and another one-hit knock. Okay, no signs of slowing down here for Anthony. Just gonna steamroll straight ahead into the next match. That was insane pressure.
Yeah, so I think off turn 0 and turn 1, we already saw the Salamence speed tie. We weren't sure with the Intimidate, but then we saw Anthony's Draco Meteor go first. Rather, Tailwind go first.
Tailwind, yes.
Then the Draco Meteor, of course. So it is a speed tie. So Anthony having to get a little bit of luck there in order to just go far ahead in that win.
Yeah.
So really up to Matthew to make the adjustments here to bring this one back. And I think the Pokemon to do it is probably leading with that Primarina.
Yeah, Primarina could make a big difference just with that fairy typing alone. And of course, it gets boosted from that rain if your opponent decides to bring it in. So that is a great option to have available to you. Use your opponent's weather against them.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't see the Primarina at all, let alone at lead in that game. Bringing the Volcarona, which loses pretty hard to a rain team.
Yeah.
I'm surprised not to have seen, honestly, if it's my picks, I would probably lead with Primarina, Salamence, Rillaboom, and Tyranitar. You could also bring Excadrill in one of those slots potentially, but I think Primarina is the big Pokemon that needs to come here. Rillaboom most critically because it can handle the Bastia Legion and Pelipper to some extent, but we did see, just a lot of offense, and these players are locking in their decisions really quickly. There's a lot of offense here. I'm not sure if Matthew's kind of conceding, saying, hey, this matchup is not as even as I thought it might have been. And Anthony kind of just steamrolled in that first one. I'm really interested to see adjustments that are made. And
there it is. Good call.
Primarina.
That's a great call here. It's going to give you a nice advantage against Salamence, of course, and Argalodon a little bit here. You're not going to be taking the super effective damage from those steel-type attacks. But we also have a check just in case Pelipper does come into play after the Sandstorm has been set up.
Absolutely. There's a lot of danger here for this Primarina, though. Like you said, that Pelipper can come in. An Electro Shot is very super effective.
Very super effective.
I would assume enough to take out Primarina, even with its massive special bulk. But leading Tyranitar here may not have been the play. I think Tyranitar needed to come into the back to potentially offset the rain that can easily come in. And I'm curious to see what Anthony wants to do here. If I'm Matthew, I know I need to handle these Pokemon right away, but there's so much pressure. Do I need to take out the Tailwind, or do I need to get rid of this Archaludon, which applies so much pressure to my team with staying power and offense, as we see a switch to Pelipper?
Yeah, and at this point, it's kind of like, do you read that? Does Matthew see this play coming? It's such a blatant play, even we called it over here, right? So now, are we going to protect here and make sure that this Electroshock doesn't do a massive amount of damage to our Primarina? I expect it to be so because we are switching in here. There's the protect. That makes sense. Okay, so now we're not going to be taking too much damage, but we also see what our opponent wanted to do here. Oh, of course, you still get the stats.
+1.
That's so good. That's so good. Imagine.
It's not even fair.
Okay, so what did you lose? I pressed growth this turn? Like, all right, good, nice.
Yeah, albeit a dead turn, so to speak, Anthony still comes out ahead on this turn.
Yes.
Pelipper's out, and Matthew's pretty forced to bring in that Tyranitar if he doesn't want any sort of shenanigans. Although Anthony also, not as freely able to click Electro Shot. If he clicks Electro Shot here and Tyranitar comes in, it's not going to let that Electro Shot go off.
Immediately, at least. It'll have to take a turn, right?
Absolutely.
So now you bring this in, and now Tyranitar is also in a good spot because you are going to be taking less damage. But looks like we're committing to our Terra Grass here for our Archaludon. I'm not sure what's going on or what they chose or locked in here, but we're going to see it. A protect, no switches. Primarina is going to be going for an attack here. Pelipper also protected. Did we commit to the Electroshock again? Oh, body press into the block here. Nicely predicted. And now Primarina gets a free attack, but what is it going to be? Haze! Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, a pretty smart Haze there, knowing that Electroshock definitely would have KO'd it.
Absolutely.
Anthony, quote-unquote, not taking the bait of Tyranitar coming in, but Matthew saying, I wasn't baiting you. I don't need to bring Tyranitar in. That was the bait. So Matthew playing a very cerebral game here of when am I going to bring him my Tyranitar? Are you safe to click Electroshot? I don't know. Let's find out.
Smart. Switching out the Excadrill here is going to bring in back in this Tyranitar, not into the slot that we thought it was. Body press did go into that Primarina, which means now Primarina is going to be able to drop another attack. I wonder what we locked in here.
Yeah, so a wide guard coming out.
Oh, he predicted the right. Oh, I thought he targeted the Primarina. Wow, and of course the Grass Terra, and now Stamina gonna go ahead and increase this defense as well. What an excellent decision. I could have sworn I saw him pick the Primarina slot.
No, had that gone into the Primarina slot, it wouldn't have done
Nearly
any
as much.
damage. But going into that Tyranitar does a lot of damage. Surprised not to get a one-hit KO. I guess that's the power of the same type attack bonus. But Tyranitar can kind of flip-flop in and out here. Obviously not able to protect, but Primarina going for that haze, keeping itself around. I think that terrestrialization on our Chaladon kind of messing with it a bit here, where the Moonblast didn't do 50%,
right?
But with that Sandstorm chip was just enough. If another Moonblast lands into that bridge, the Sand might chip it down. Again, it all depends on damage rolls. Who knows if that was low or high?
My thought process was, okay, we have Excadrill in, we can click an attack on it, have Focus Sash activate, switch out Primarina, bring in Tyranitar, and that's why I thought that's where the body press was going. But I guess Anthony knew he was going to do the same side mix.
So Volcarona here, now coming in, Flash Cannon going out into the Volcarona,
nice,
not doing nearly enough damage, but not taking the bait of going for a body press, which would have burnt. And a Moonblast is enough to finish up this KO. It looks like it got a low roll on the first time and a higher roll this time to be able to take out this Archaladon, which would give Matthew so much trouble navigating around very precariously to get in a position where he's able to get this Archaladon in off the field, mitigate the amount of damage it does. Yes, you took a lot on Tyranitar.
Yes, you did.
But now Tyranitar's off the field, and Pelipper's going to want to have to come in.
Yes, it is, and that's going to set up that rain. But now we have the chance to offset it, which is actually even better for us. I do, however, don't know if I like the Volcarona still in this position. I think we could have swapped that out, maybe, but hey, I'm not the one in top tables right now, so maybe I don't know something.
Yeah, Volcarona just hit the field, taking that Flash Cannon beautifully. As, Tyranitar could come in here, doesn't necessarily have to, as the Volcarona is going to be not the Volcarona, wow.
Oh, well, look at that.
The Primarina going out in favor of the Tyranitar. And now Volcarona is likely going to be the fastest Pokemon on the field. Can Terra into that grass typing and likely get a big Giga Drain off into the Basculegion. I think Anthony was thinking maybe I should switch into Salamence here, expecting this, but let's see what he goes for. If this is enough, it might KO the Basculegion. I'm assuming not. I know Basculegion's a very bulky Pokemon, and Giga Drain's not the strongest, but Volcarona might have it in it. And it survives
but
with
wait,
1 HP.
The Sandstorm is going to go ahead and take it out. What a champ. Okay, this is why we brought in the Volcarona. Yep. I'm sorry. I apologize for my disrespect.
No, never disrespect the moth. Tyranitar is going to go down here, but that's okay. Tyranitar never did damage this game.
Correct.
Without passive damage. Basculegion actually taking itself out from Wave Crash here. Pelipper still has the option to move. Goes for a Weather Ball. Is going to be a Rock-type Weather Ball, not what you commonly see. And Volcarona, thanks to that Terrestrialization, is not going to take the 4 times super effective damage it normally would have. Had that been a Hurricane, 70% of the time, it would have done a ton of damage. Salamence is going to come in here now, though. And now the Sand is stuck on the field for the entire rest of the game.
And you know who's still in the back there? That's their Excadrill. It might not have the most amount of HP left, though.
No, it has not taken any damage
Oh, that's
whatsoever.
right. It didn't take any damage. You're right.
Exactly. It switched into an Electro Shot and switched out of a Body Press. The good news here is Matthew played this one well. I know a lot of people would be eager to get their Excadrill in with a lot of turns of Sand, but knowing I cannot deal with taking this Intimidate, as a Hurricane goes out into this Primarina, does a ton of damage.
And the confusion. Oh, man.
And we'll see if this is enough. If Primarina is able to move here, going to be able to KO that Salamence, as a Giga Drain goes out into Pelipper, and that does a ton of damage. To where 2 more turns of Sand Chip, actually I believe 3 if my math is correct, is going to be enough to take out Pelipper, as another Hurricane goes out into the Primarina, as Anthony recognizing very, very well that his way back into this game is the power of Salamence, not the power of anything else, as we are going to see Salamence take a turn of Chip, which means it is faster than this Volcarona, or at least speed tying, because we did see the speed tie between Salamences. One would probably assume that they're both max speed. And I think my math was correct on the Pelipper, where it would have 3 turns of Sand Chip. So I believe it's guaranteed to go down this game. And Excadrill now coming in with a fresh Focus Sash.
Yes, fresh Focus Sash, full HP, and now coming into a situation where both these Pokemon are slower. They can't do as much when they're getting knocked out. Pelipper's already low as well. It's looking pretty good here. Maybe we drop Rock Slides for that. Oh, the wide guard. Oh, I hope you didn't click Rock Slide.
Yeah, so I think Anthony, knowing he kind of has to click Rock Slide here, and Matthew, knowing he has to click Rock Slide here, I know he's clicking Wide Guard as a Hurricane goes into the protected Volcarona. Iron Head is going to be a lot onto that Salamence. I think another Iron Head and Giga Drain into the Pelipper, especially after that Sand Chip, is going to be enough to wrap up this game, unless Anthony can stall out the Sand with some Protects. Pelipper actually, my math was wrong, it's going to take four
turns.
Sand.
I also have to give credit to Matthew here, sending in that Primarina right on time, was able to go ahead and get that safely knocked out, get a little bit of damage in there too, and then safely bring in Escadrille for this endgame win con.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Matthew put the Primarina in a situation where, had it not been knocked out, it was getting a knockout.
Yes, absolutely.
And if it was getting knocked out, Excadrill's coming in. So Matthew positioned that one really, really well at the endgame. Positioned the Tyranitar perfectly in front of Pelipper a number of turns. Made one call where, ooh, you're gonna not Electro Shot because I can bring in Pelipper. Played that really, really well. A complete switch up of game one where it was just hits. Matthew playing, as I said, a lot more cerebrally, thinking out these turns, not going for any dice rolls, just saying, all right, I need to be in control of this match, or else it's not going to swing in my favor.
Yes, and now maybe we'll switch it up, the leads again here. I'm expecting something from Matthew here, maybe going with that Primarina lead again, because it worked out so well that first time around, and as we called it, it did enough work in enough positioning. Haze was important. Everything it did was just important for the end game of this match, and definitely impressed with Primarina today, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Primarina is a Pokemon that I've been looking at for a long time due to its typing that hasn't really had a chance to shine. And right now in Regulation H, it's in just the perfect spot where its typing's good, its stats are enough finally.
And the competition is a little sparse, right? Because there's not that many fairy types in this regulation, right? A lot of the great ones were banned, as I was by Lindsay earlier. So it works out for Primarina pretty nicely.
Yeah.
And there goes the leads changing for Volcarona and Salamence this time, not bringing out that Primarina, maybe trying to mix things up, catch the opponent off guard.
So this is a very interesting position where Archaludon is threatening big damage. As well, Volcarona is threatening setup, while Amoonguss is threatening one of two things. Spore, if Volcarona Terras, it avoids, or Clear Smog, which, if Volcarona doesn't go for Terra and it doesn't go for setup, is kind of wasted.
Yep, it would be wasted.
I don't think there's an inherently correct play in this situation. I think it's up to just a bunch of calls. I think getting something off the field immediately would be good for Anthony. A Draco Meteor into that Salamence would be great. But having to deal with the repercussions of having a -2 special attack Archaludon on the field is not going to help him.
Oh, this is an interesting decision. Switching out that Amoonguss, not feeling like it's the right place for it just yet, brings in the rain, and now we might even see this Electro Shot coming out from Archaludon.
Yes.
Quiver Dance is going to go ahead and go up, and now there's no threat of that Clear Smog in play at all, so we're feeling pretty good about this one.
Yeah, so Electro Shot out, coming, I would have to guess, into the Volcarona slot, unless he expected the Salamence to switch. Probably not going to pick up a KO on either of these targets.
Oh, expected the switch on Salamence.
Yeah.
That's pretty huge.
So right now we have a +1/+1/+1 Volcarona here on the field, having taken no damage, but under threat of fire from this Pelipper's Hurricanes. But Matthew could easily bring in Tyranitar here and say, all right, now you're rolling the dice with dealing with, what's it called? I lost my train of thought. I apologize. But the rain here, Hurricane accuracy.
Hurricane accuracy.
And there's a lot of moving parts right now. Anthony has access to Wide Guard. The rain is up, but can be negated by this Tyranitar coming in and setting up the Sandstorm.
Which means no more quick shots on those electric shots into any of these slots. It's going to take a turn if you wanted to commit to that. So I do imagine a switch out in the next coming turn. But now, it looks like Matthew's going to go ahead and lock in this Terra into this Terra Grass typing.
This is a fantastic play. If we go based on what happened last game, this Terra Grass,
Fiery Dance to get that boost in speed here.
I was not reading the team sheet. I just assumed that this Volcarona had Heat Wave, but actually with the Fire Dance, does it get the special attack boost that it gets so frequently? No, it does not, as Hurricane goes out to that slot, does over 50%, as Draco Meteor now from +1 is going to be able to take out that Volcarona. I honestly thought what was going to happen in that turn was Matthew was going to go for a +1 Giga Train into the Pelipper. We saw last game from not +1, just from Terra, it almost brought it down to the Focus Sash. If he had gone for that here, brought Pelipper down to its Focus Sash, and it would have been knocked out by the Sandstorm, there would be nothing preventing Tyranitar from going a little wild.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, I do think we're going to lock in a Protect here for Pelipper, and that's going to be a decent choice. But now, what are we going to go ahead and do with this Archaludon? Are we going to go for another quick... Oh, we're going to swap out? Oh, okay, they went back. They're going to swap out this Pelipper for a Moongus here. Interesting choice. I think bringing in a Moongus and trying to get up these Spores and then refresh the rain is probably a great strategy for this foreseeable future, especially since you want Basket Legion to be in prime position to do a massive amount of damage. But we do see this Primarina back in play again, and it did work for us the first time around. Oh, okay, switching out. Okay, it's a double switch out.
Yeah, so both Pokemon off the field from Anthony to an Amoonguss and a Basket Legion. As we do see Primarina go for a Moonblast, which does not do a lot to that Amoonguss, lowering its massive special attack stat. It might have done more to itself with Light Orb. As a knockoff comes out onto a Moongus here, going to remove that Citrus Berry, prevent that healing. And now Basket Legion's in a spot where it can move pretty freely. I believe it's naturally faster than both of these Pokemon, the Tyranitar and the Primarina. Amoonguss can easily redirect any moves that they want to go for, but Pelipper could also just hit the field and do a massive amount of damage. No knockouts have been taken from Matthew, so Anthony's last respects on Basket Legion is going to be that base 50 power, not any more, not any less, as we are going to see Tyranitar switch out.
Tyranitar coming out and bringing back in this Solomons, maybe to get this attack drop on Basket Legion, of course. But, oh, okay, Amoonguss also switching out. A lot of switches in this match. It's a little uncommon, but that's a lot more than I'm used to. Pelipper coming back in, setting up that rain once again with this Drizzle ability, of course. And there goes the Wave Crash. It's going to do a massive amount of damage. Solomons was already on its way out, so it's not the biggest deal. But what's better here is now we get a free reset to Sand with Tyranitar making its way right back in.
Yeah, this turn went really well for Matthew. Getting the Rain boost for the Hyper Voice, getting Tyranitar off the field, getting the Intimidate from Salamence. Salamence now goes down, allows Tyranitar to come back onto the field for free, as you mentioned, Naeem. This is a really good position for Matthew, where Basket Legion's not moving as fast and not doing as much damage. Did a lot of damage with Hyper Voice, and now these Moonblasts are more threatening.
Oh, basically the entire team is on either half or lower than half HP too. So these Hyper Voices can start doing a lot of damage. Not a bad position to be in for Matthew, but we have to be extra careful now because we only got the 2 left.
Yeah, I don't quite recall how many turns of Tailwinds are there. I believe they're all gone. May have been a long time ago. I've been too distracted by the Pokemon. But Matthew is down to his last 2 Pokemon, and without that Tailwind up,
survival!
Without enough sustain there, Primarina's Moonblast is going to take out Basket Legion here. I wouldn't be shocked to see if Tyranitar gets a KO onto a Moongus here with a potential knockoff or a Rock Slide. But the problem is that Pelipper and that Archaludon in back are going to be way more than enough to clean up this match.
Actually, I think it's a little bit better here that only one of the 2 Pokemon in the back can come in, and it's going to have to be this Pelipper, which means we will be playing the rest of this match in rain. But now that Archaludon and of course, the Pelipper aren't coming out at the same time. It's a little bit less threatening. If we can get a double knockout here on both of these Pokemon, it would be a good situation. Oh, I don't know about this decision that was locked in just now. Bringing out Amoonguss, sending in the Archaludon that was in the back. That's damage that potentially is going to go into that slot. I mean, it is a Steel type, so maybe it won't take as much. Weather Ball going to go ahead and take out Tyranitar. But let's see what Primarina locked in for this round.
Yeah, I do agree with you that Matthew only knocking out one Pokemon was more beneficial for him. But we are going to see, likely at the end of this match, as the Hyper Voice comes out, is not nearly enough to pick up
Not
the
nearly
KO
enough
on
at
our
all.
Chaladon. And our Chaladon now, with an Electro Shot, is going to be able to pick up the knockout from where this Primarina's HP is. And even if it wasn't, this Amoonguss now is going to be able to put it to sleep and then can go for Clear Smogs. Anthony actually never terrestrializing in this game, saying, maybe
I don't
I
need
didn't
it.
have to.
I don't have to do that. I think I'm okay. Here comes Electro Shot one more time into this Primarina. Going to deal tons of damage here. And of course go off immediately because of that rain ability. And there goes Primarina.
Yeah. So Anthony played this one really well. I think Matthew had to dance around really heavily to try to get in the right positions, and unfortunately in this game 3 for him, just wasn't able to. You know, I think crucially, what I mentioned with Volcarona earlier, had it gotten Pelipper off the field, even if it used its terrestrialization just to get that Pelipper off the field at +1 with that Terra Grass, with the Giga Drain and the Sandstorm chip, not allowing rain to hit the field again would have saved this match.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But hey, at this point in time, it looks like our dear friend Anthony is going to be moving on into top 8, guaranteed. Don't go anywhere. Top 8 is next. We'll see you soon.